Amen. Please turn your Bibles, yes, remember those things? Open your Bibles to 2 Kings chapter 6. Go, Maddie's like, where are the notes? Well, I haven't sent them out. You see, the problem with sending out notes is people get lazy. You know, it's a known fact that if you take notes in a lecture, if you just listen, you get 15%. If you take notes as you listen, you automatically retain 30%. And I think some of you have got spiritually fat, spiritually lazy. So I've made it easy that we're just going to follow one passage. But I do want to pick up on what Lennox said. My job is to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. And we're in a nice venue, you've got nice, seats and everything, but a good sermon should be like going to the cinema. You see, the cinema shows whether somebody's actually in control of their emotions. You can figure out whether you're a wise person or an unwise person. Because you go into a cinema, what is the first thing you see? It's the chocolates, it's the popcorn, and it is that big Coke that you get. Now, they've just re-released Lord of the Rings 4HD or whatever it is, man. Those movies like go on for 3 hours. You see what goes in? An unwise person goes in and goes, man, I am looking forward to this. Give me my Coke. Give me my... I sit there, and then about an hour and a half in, you've drunk so much Coke, all you want to do is run out. See, that's an unwise person. Now, that's what happens to an unwise person that walks into a church. You see, they want to run out halfway through. But a wise person goes, no, I've already been to Target, I bought my Coke for 30 cents. I'm going to bring it out halfway through. I know how this goes. But that's what it's like when you come to a sermon. Some of you will want to run out. And some of you will be wise and go, no, I'm going to stay here. I know how to enjoy this. I've confessed my sin beforehand. I had a good quiet time. But I have a very simple point today. Are you making mountains out of molehills? So this is an idiom, it's a saying that is about 400 years old, and I found out it's from England. Why? Well, that's where you have a lot of moles, okay? So if you didn't know, a mole is basically a thing that goes underground, comes up, and on your beautiful lawns, the English are famous, a bit like hobbits, for their lawns, and you have this mound comes up, and you wake up in the morning and go, oh my goodness me. There is and when there is one, there's normally 2 and then 3 or 4. And then you obviously understand that a mountain, a molehill is about this big. But a mountain can be like 3,000 feet tall. But if you love your garden, you're like, man, all you think about that day is the molehill. And you make a mountain out of a molehill. It's also used as a metaphor for basically people who disproportionately share about issues in their life. They're dramatic. They overemphasize something in their life to a disproportion of what is actually going on in their life. It actually ranks the 203rd most popular saying in people's lives. Wow. Now, some people say it in a different way. Some people go, you're making much to do about nothing. That's what Shakespeare called it. Or you're making a song and dance about it. You're blowing things out of proportion. I like this as a modern one. You're having a hissy fit over nothing. An Aussie might go, mate, you're laying it on thick. Or you're laying it on with a shovel. Okay. You're crying wolf. Or you have overbaked that story. It's actually a ridiculous comparison. And just like Jesus, he used, the plank and the speck. It's like, guys, you are so dramatic over this decision. Maybe this morning you went, you know what? I woke up late and I didn't have a quiet time. I must be going to hell. I mean, honestly, that's how some people think. They wake up in the morning and go, gee, that's it. I won't even come to church. Am I talking about me or am I talking about you this morning? So I have 2 very simple points. Come on. Point 1. Stop making a mountain out of a molehill. All right, that's pretty obvious, okay? All right, so we're going to take a look at a servant and a man of God. One who makes molehill, mountains out of molehills, and one who does the opposite. So, in 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 1. And if you're visiting here, Elisha in the Bible is a pretty cool guy, he's a prophet. Okay. It says, The company of prophets said to Elisha, look, the place where we meet with you is too small for us. Let us go to the Jordan, where each of us can get a pole, and let us build a place for us to meet. So the church is growing in the Old Testament. Amen. And he said, go. Then one of them said, won't you please come with your servants? I will, Elijah replied, and he went with them. They went to the Jordan and began to cut down trees. As one of them was cutting down a tree, the iron axe head fell into the water. Oh no, my lord, he cried out. It was borrowed. The man of God asked, where did it fall? When he showed him the place, Elisha cut a stick and threw it there, and made the iron float. Lift it out, he said. Then the man reached out his hand and took it. So this is a simple miracle in a daily problem. Here we find Elisha moving house with his servants. A normal activity in many of our lives at some point. As the servant went about doing his good deed, he had an accident. A borrowed axe head he lost in the water, and it flung into the water. His first reaction was fear and crying out. You know, like us today, sometimes we do a good thing and a bad thing happens, especially as we move houses. Hey, Elias. A couple of weeks ago, he shared about how he moved house and tried to do a good deed, drove the truck for everybody, and then scratched it, and it cost him $1,000. Those are normal daily things. And you go, and you remember he did the conjuring and said, oh Lord, why? Why me? Why me? And yet, notice here, it then goes Elisha, and it says, the man of God responded. So he moves from Elisha, and the emphasis now, oh, you see how the man of God responds versus the servant. And there's a real pointing of how we should be.
Come on.
His reaction was, yeah, problems happen. Where did it happen? And then he said, well, I'll deal with the problem for you. I mean, it's only an axe head. What could be bad? Then with the power of God, he set a miracle. But what was going on in the miracle? See, the axe head didn't swim to the top. It simply floated. And why did Elijah do this? Well, basically, he threw the stick in the water to go, look, wood floats, iron doesn't. You understand that, right? Okay, so everybody understands that. The iron is at the bottom, the wood floats. All right, so now what I'm going to demonstrate to you is a miracle that can only happen if God makes it happen. That's the whole purpose of it. There's no way that this can happen. There's no way that this is normal. So then the iron rises, and he goes, just pick it up. So you have Elijah who goes, what's the problem? And the servant goes, what do you mean, what's the problem? It's iron. It's at the bottom. Maybe I don't swim. Or maybe it was really deep water. So you go, well, this is ridiculous. That's why it's called a miracle.
Come on.
That's why it's called a miracle. Elijah's going, look, you've got to understand this is happening because of the power of God, not by the power of Elisha. And what he's trying to teach the servant is God is sovereign over everything. God can make anything happen. So why are you so stressed out about a stupid axe head? And I love the way Elias said, you know what? I thought, why God? I've got $1,000 to give, and I've got a special contribution, and all of a sudden he gets $1,200 back from the Sydney University that he still doesn't know why he got it back. And you go, it doesn't make sense. I know, that's the whole point. That's why you call it a miracle. That's why we worship God. These are the stories that we share with other people. And they go, that's impossible. Yeah, for you, but not for God.
Come on.
That's the whole point. The moral of this little story is that God helps people in the small troubles as well as in the large ones. He cares for the individual as well as the nation, or today the church. I think about so often we go, you know what, God will do great things for the church, but not for me. I mean, if you knew me, if you knew who I am, then you'd understand why God doesn't do anything for me. And you've missed the point. The church is made up of lots of individuals. So if he cares for the church, of course he has to care for the individuals. You know, what personal things are you crying about to God that are so easily fixed? What mountain are you making out of what molehill? You know, I think about that accident with Elias. Basically, bad things happen to us so that God can get the glory. Isn't that what the cross is all about? It's about, it doesn't matter what you do to Jesus when he's on earth, I'm going to resurrect him. I mean, do your worst. Crucify him, flog him, beat him up. I don't care. I'm going to resurrect him. You can chop him up into little pieces if you want. I'll stick him back together again. Sometimes we think so unspiritually. You know, I think about what illnesses do you think that God can't fix? We had a brothers preach off, and people were sharing about the miracles. And Sahil was just sharing about a thyroid illness. He went, you know what, after I became a Christian, I went to the doctor, and he said, you're cured. We went, okay. Why do I think that happened with Sahil? Sahil comes from an Islamic background. And God wanted to go, I'm different. I'm the God of the Bible. These are the things I do. Okay? It's just that simple. You know, what about finding your rent this week? Maybe you're like, I just don't know. Well, maybe you should ask your landlord if you can have a free week's rent because you've paid rent for the last 2 years and you're a good person. Whoa. I never thought of that. I mean, how do you think the servant felt? He went, Elisha made the axe head float. Bro, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, are we allowed to find out whatever's at the bottom of a lake? I mean, is that how we're going to get our special contribution? Stand on the lake and go, rise. I mean, is that a thing? Is that a new thing that we should put in the book about how to raise special contribution? I mean, you think about the conversations they would have had. And, you know, any time that servant in the future would have had a problem going, hey, mate, it's not as bad as the axe head falling in the water. I mean, you know, stop being such a sook. Come on. What about getting a job? People get jobs all the time. And we go, God, give me a job. He goes, really? You're asking for something you can get on your own? Is that all you're really asking for? Pass an exam. We get so freaked out. I remember June at the end of the first year, he phoned up his mum and went, Mum, I have failed. He hadn't even got the results yet. He said, I have failed! Goes, Joe, she's persecuting me for my Christianity because I failed my exams. Have you got the results yet? No. I said, what are you doing, you idiot? And then he passed. He went, oh, it's all right. Honestly, you get so bent out of shape. We must all deal with our victim mentality. You go, well, I don't believe in miracles. Guess what? That's why there's none in your life. Simple as that. Once your faith, it'll be done. You notice how the servant did a couple of good things. He didn't blame the owner of the axe. That was a good thing, right? He didn't go, right, where's that owner? Stupid owner. You gave me a bad axe. It's your fault. Isn't that what we like to do? You remember that Adam blamed Eve, Eve blamed the serpent and said, you're right? When you blame other people, you know the bad thing about that is? You can't repent for somebody else. So if it's their fault, they may never ever repent. Then what are you going to do? Just stay bitter? It's much better when it's your fault. I think about God allows problems and accident in your life so he can demonstrate his power in your life. So then you will build your faith to take on bigger problems and accidents. It's as simple as that. James 1:2 said, consider it pure joy when your axe head flies off your axe handle. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may mature and be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives you generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. In other words, guys, here's the process. You got a problem, get fired up, ask God to fix it, and he'll fix it. You've got a problem, you ask God, he'll fix it. Problem, God. Really simple, isn't it? Not problem, freak out. Was that you this week? Problem, freak out.
Come on.
I think about it. Problems are the ingredients for miracles. You can't bake a cake without ingredients. You can't have a miracle without a problem. It's that simple. So you should be going, Lord, give me more problems. Be careful what you ask for. That's what I will say. You see, God wants you to learn to treat molehills as molehills. He goes, you need to understand, you need to be proportionate about the problem. Small problems as small problems. That's the first stage in your life. Don't be so dramatic. You've got a bad attitude with someone, you go up to them and say, hey, I've got a little bit of a problem. Can I talk to you, please? Okay, let's then move on, shall we? I mean, let's just treat molehills as molehills. Why does he want you to learn to treat molehills as molehills? Well, the truth of it is men of faith learn how to treat mountains as molehills. And that's my second point. Start making mountains into molehills. See, this is a continual passage in the Bible. So this is like the introduction to the real story that's coming up. So it goes on, and we see the same two men. In 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 8, it says, now the king of Aram was at war with Israel. After conferring with his officers, he said, I will set up my camp in such and such a place. The man of God sent word to the king of Israel, beware of passing that place because the Armenians are going down there. So the king of Israel checked on the place indicated by the man of God. Time and again Elisha warned the king so that he was on guard in such places. This enraged the king of Aram. He summoned his officers and demanded of them, tell me, which of us is on the side of the king of Israel? None of us, my lord the king, said one of his officers. But Elisha the prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the very words you speak in your bedroom. Go, find out where he is, the king ordered, so I can send men and capture him. The report came back, he is in Dothan. He sent horses and chariots and a strong force there. They went by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. Oh no, my lord, what shall we do? The servant asked. Don't be afraid, the prophet answered. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And Elijah prayed, open the eyes, Lord, so that he may see. Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses, chariots of fire all around Elijah. As the enemy came towards him, so the problem got bigger, Elijah prayed to the Lord, strike this army with blindness. So he struck them with blindness, as Elijah had asked. Elijah told them, this is not the road, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will lead you to the man you are looking for. So he led them to Samaria. After they entered the city, Elijah said, Lord, open the eyes of these men so they can see. Then the Lord opened their eyes, and they looked, and there they were inside Samaria. Then the king of Israel saw them. He asked Elijah, shall I kill him, my father? Shall I kill him? Don't kill them, he asked. Would you kill those you have captured with your own sword or bow? Set food and water before them so that they may eat and drink and then go back to their master. So he prepared a great feast for them, and after they had finished eating and drinking, he sent them away, and they returned to their master. So the bands from Aram stopped raiding Israel's territory. Now it was time here for this servant to get a completely different perspective. Now you would say, okay, there's an axe head, that's a molehill. Surely, Joe, this is an actual mountain. All right? There is an army not only in front of him, but surrounding him. So this is not like I've got a mountain in front of me. I am surrounded by mountains. Have you ever felt like that? Like Monday you get one problem, Tuesday you get another one, and another one, and another one. And you just go, you know what? I am overwhelmed. I'm surrounded by problems. Now, you got to give it to the servant. At least he got up early in the morning. I hope he was going to have a quiet time. That's always a good thing to do in the morning. But a whole hostile army? I mean, this is a real problem. This is not just, hey, you know, at least with the axe head I could have gone and bought another one. It's a genuine problem. He faced with a mountain to climb, surrounded in every direction. Yet, what was Elisha's response? He's like, man, axe head, army, it's all the same thing. Why on earth are you panicking? Don't you know this is not a problem? God is on our side. Mate, these are like pathetic humans, okay? We're surrounded by angels and God's angels, and they've got fire and they can kill 1,000 people in just one sniff. And mate, what is your problem? But how is it that Elijah could remain so calm? It's basically because he was in tune spiritually.
Right.
Do you notice how he didn't pray for himself to see the army? He prayed for the servant to see the army. See, Elijah was already a spiritual man. He was in tune with the spiritual. See, unspiritual people make mountains out of molehills. Spiritual people make molehills out of mountains. They don't see the problem, they see God everywhere around. Even as the enemy came towards him. See, you know, like the problem sometimes comes towards you more and more, like there's a deadline, and you're now the problem is really big. What did he do? He just went, all right, God, I've got a really great plan. Okay, blind them. So who came up with the plan? Elijah came up with the plan. He went, God, this is my solution. Blind them. Then what I'll do is, if they're all blind, I'll play the Pied Piper, I'll lead them into the king, I'll get them surrounded by the king's army, so they go from being surrounders to surrounded, and then we'll see what the king does. And that was it. It really wasn't a problem for him. You know, he led the whole army into captivity, and after that, there were no more problems. Why? Because they thought, you know what, I'm not going up against Elijah. I don't think they went, you know, I ain't going up against God. They're like, where there is one man of God, I do not want to go up against him. Isn't it amazing how one man of God can literally change not only a situation, but a nation?
Come on.
How one man or woman of God can literally stop people hurting each other. Too many people go, I want to succeed in the world. Why? Why? What are you actually going to do? Even if you became prime minister or president, you still wouldn't stop wars.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Power doesn't stop wars. Love does.
Come on. Yeah.
Love does. That's it.
Yep.
That's all we've got to offer. Because it's the only thing that works. You know, what area in your life do you need to turn a mountain into a molehill? Let's talk about your love life. Honestly, I think sometimes the singles talk more about their love life than Jesus. I really do. They get out and they have their breakfast in the morning, they have their quiet time. Okay, I've done God. Now can we talk about our love life, please? How do I know? I was there. Saturday morning breakfast at the brother's house. Everybody had a quiet time. Right. Who are you taking on a date this week? Let's just get real, shall we? That's it. You know, I think about your love life. How much do you need a change of perspective? How many people have got married to someone they swore they would never like and yet is right underneath their nose? How many? I think of my dear brother Chi. Wasn't Themis in the Sydney church before Chi? Wasn't he right under her nose all the time? Didn't they go on a mission team together? Aren't there photos of them literally hugging each other on the mission team on stage? And she went, where's my girlfriend, oh Lord? He went, she's right next to you in your Bible talk. No, she's not. Oh, yes, she is. Oh, no, she's not. Oh, it's like a pantomime. It really is. It's ridiculous. She just needed his eyes open.
Right.
Am I talking about Chi or am I talking about you? A simple question I like to ask brothers is, if you had to marry somebody in the church, and it had to be in this church, and they're in the church right now, who would it be? And they always actually have a person. And then I just go, so what's the problem? So what's the problem? Well, feet are too small, our nose is too low. He needs to pray more. It's not just the brothers, shock sisters. I appreciate Pete and Paulina. Great couple. They're going to be doing the dating talk next week. That'd be fair to say they both had broken hearts in their life over different relationships. I remember after Pete broke up with his girlfriend, and he just said to Joe, said, I don't know what to do, bro, just help me out. I said, is there anybody in the whole kingdom around the world, anybody that you might be interested in? He said, well, there's just two sisters that I've brushed up with. One's called Paulina in Phoenix, and one's this other girl. So well, let me just get on the phone with them. One responded, Paulina, and one did not. I thought, well, that's pretty obvious, God. Hey, Paulina, how'd you like to come out here for a week? There was humility, and then, wow, this incredible couple.
Yeah.
You know, you most probably already know who you're going to marry. You just need a change of perspective.
Wow.
I mean, let's be honest. Look at some of the couples. Who would have put Obed and Bonnie together? I mean, they're a pretty powerful couple. Did a great job last week. Okay. But you got the Pakistani prophet, okay, and then you got the sweet American Chinese girl that lived literally thousands of thousands of miles away. There's cultural gaps, there's age gaps, there's intellectual gaps, there's all sorts of gaps. You see, with God, when your eyes are open, they go, ta-da! And I remember Kerry walking around the church going, are the sisters blind? Do they not see Obed? Are they blind? He's handsome, he's generous, he's just... And then Bonnie comes and goes, my eyes are open. See, the problem is whether your eyes are open. You know, I think Emmanuel and Effie, let's just go there. I don't like him, he's not a man enough. He's a boy. Now, some of you sisters have said that, let's be honest. So Manny, I said, go up to Effie and go, why do you think I'm a boy and not man enough? Because that's a manly thing to do.
Right.
So he did. She went, well, now I like him. And I went, well, I'll see if he likes you now. You know what? You just need your eyes open. Honestly, some of you are what do you think? You're really going to stay single for the rest of your life? You think that's your plan? That's God's plan. I'll tell you what. I baptize you, hug you, and then go, that's it. No one for you. I mean, honestly, I think that's how, if we actually let all of our feelings out, that's how some of us literally think. God has forgotten me. Really? Really? Let's just make this mountain into a molehill, shall we? Yeah. What about debt? Finances? Lord, man, I'm in so much debt. It's $100,000, $200,000. I remember when I first went to LA, we were disciples with a couple called Fred and Manu. And he'd, like many people before they became Christians, had a past, and he'd had a child by another woman and had been paying money to her all this time and lost his job, hadn't kept up with it. And basically they just put interest and interest and interest. So basically he said, Joe, I'm really struggling with some hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. I said, well, why don't you go and ask them to forgive the debt? He went, you can't do that. I said, who says? Well, you can't.
True.
I said, well, who says? He said, well, everybody. I said, phone them up and say, look, can you please forgive me my debt? And I think it was $130,000 or something. And they went, yes. And they go, why? Well, he said, well, actually, you've paid back more than you borrowed. This is just interest, and we know that you can't pay it back, so we'll just forgive the debt. Wow. He came back in the next day and said, I'm an idiot. I should have asked sooner. You know, when you see a miracle, you just go, why didn't I do that sooner? I remember Dave Caldwell, who was also in the same ministry, went, that sounds good. Lord, help me, get rid of my debt. On his wedding day, his uncle came and said, you know what, I'm going to pay off all your debts. Wow. I went, man, and the whole church went, I like this. They started phoning everybody up. Yeah, well, that was in America. Well, I remember Mel got her debts paid off by her dad. Did she deserve it? No. Was she in debt because she was indisciplined? Yes. But God doesn't treat us as our sins deserve. That's the whole point. Did the prophet deserve the accent floating? Did he deserve that miracle even though he's a prophet? No, stupid guy, let it fly off. Should have jumped in after it or something. Yet, God goes, that's what I am. That's who I am. I do miracles as a pastime. You play video games, I do miracles. See, you play miracles because you know you can't do them. I do them. It's, there's no new life. That's why I play video games, right? We're living a fantasy. When you're a Christian, you should be living a reality. Think about, well, what about special contribution, man? $3,000. I'm telling you, I get $2 a week and I'm eating noodles or whatever it is. Let me just tell you how, if you're going to raise $3,000, you want to know how to raise $3,000. You ask one person, give me $3,000. And your special is done. That's actually it. So I remember when I was training the guys for a marathon, and I let them learn to raise their money, okay, on their own, because I wanted them to fail. Okay. So I was like, okay, and they're like, because they're all timid, and I asked a few people, can you give me $1? And, you know, they come in, and I have this big workshop one Saturday morning. I go, right, we're going to raise a whole load of money. How much you got? $3. How much you got? $3.75. How long have you been asking? 5 months. Really simple. Write down every human being that you know in order of how much money they have. That's simple. All right, and then I remember Audrey came and said, I have 5 minutes. That's all I've got, and I've got to go to a job or something like that. I said, no problem. How much do you need to raise? Well, I said, all hopefully I'm going to raise like $4,000. All right, well, we'll raise $4,000. Who do you know has the most money? So my grandparents, but they're persecuting the church, they will definitely not give. Absolutely not give. They won't. They persecute the church. I said, phone them up. She said, no. I said, phone them up? No. Phone them up? No. I said, you're not leaving here until you phone them up. She goes, okay. Now, we've got good friends. I wasn't being bullied. I said, okay, Grandma, can I have $3,000? Yeah, no problem. I said, how much you got left to raise? $1,000. Who do you know has got more money than that? Parents. Okay, phone them up. I need $1,000. No problem. 5 minutes, she walked out with $4,000. Well, mister, over here, I was in Great Gatsby. I said, mate, phone up DiCaprio. I did. And then Millie was like, oh, once I dressed up as Serena Williams and she liked my part. I said, phone up Serena. And honestly, we raised so much money that morning. I don't know how long they'd been raising, 3 months, whatever. We raised more than that. Why? They just got bold. I said, guys, it's really, really simple. Have you forgotten? And this is one of my favorite verses. Ecclesiastes 2:26. To the person who pleases him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner, he gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth to hand it over to the one who pleases him. You just think about it. Before Obed was a Christian, I asked him for some money. He gave us $2,000 before he became a Christian. That's why he became a Christian. God went, what a good heart. Let's dunk him. Okay. And I even remember saying that, and I went, Irene, remember Irene, she's on the mission team? She'd go, well, he's my friend, I'm going to ask him. I said, don't ask him, I've already asked him. I said, I'm asking him. Obed, can I have some money? Okay, you can have some too. What is Irene famous for? She's just pushy. She's just pushy, man. I mean, I'm pushy, but she's really pushy. You know what I'm saying? Go on, Irene. Or is she just biblical? I remember the first year we were here, and these are good stories, but I think we've forgotten some. It's like the Bible, you forget it. First year we were here. Our richest couple left, and we were $70,000 in the hole, and there were only 30 people in the church. I went, guys, we need $70,000. And then Andrew, Christine's brother, said, maybe the government owes you money, because Andrew knows about these things. Yeah. Really? He said, how? I said, all right, well, with your kids, and have you claimed for this, allowance and this allowance? Well, no, can I do that? $12,000. We gave $10,000 one week and received $12,000 the next week. How many benefits are you not claiming because you aren't bold or just going, I just don't know. I just don't know. See, the mountain is very small. All of you could have your special done by this week. Every single one of you. You just write down 20 people that you know are the richest people, and you just ask them for money for the mission team. I'm excited. We're sending out Brisbane this year, Taiwan next year, and now we're sending out Melbourne next year as well. We think we found the leaders for that as well. So it's not going to get smaller, it's just going to get faster.
Come on.
Now, you can either spend the rest of the year trying to sell water on a beach at $1 a pop, or you can just get mountain-moving faith.
Right, come on.
I know which one I prefer. I appreciate Karen and I've been able to give all of our specials so far.
Come on.
I think about pay rises. When was the last time you asked for a pay rise? Literally, when was the last time you went to a job and said, you know what, I need $3 more an hour? Are you allowed to do that? What's not against the law. I was driving in my car with my son. There's a term that we were talking about. I forgot the term, and he was still in bed, so I couldn't ask him. But it's this term where if you ask for a little, you get nothing. But if you ask for a lot, you get a little. He said, it's like this, Dad. If you ask me for $3, and I go, man, I haven't got it. But if you ask me for $100, you go, yeah, well, maybe I can find $3 for you. That's a thing. So you go up to him and say, hey, can I have 10 grand? One of the people we studied the Bible with that didn't become a Christian last year, Raymond, moved to South Africa and just sent Aaron $10,000. Yeah, like, look at your face. Why? Because God moved his heart.
Yeah.
You know, why not ask your company, I want a better job in the company? One of the things about Sydney Uni is they actually career progress you. They try and move you up the whole time. So do other companies. But you go, I just don't know if I'm like, go in tomorrow and just go, boss, can I have a pay rise, please? How much do you want? Like $5 an hour. What's he going to say? No. Well, you're not going to be worse off, are you? He may actually give it to you. What about personal fruit? Sometimes we make it so hard, thinking I've got to have a visitor. I love one is getting baptized there. So we did the cross, and I wanted to evangelize them. I love evangelizing with people you're training because God's sort of really on them, and you sort of sometimes get to skew yourself. But I just said, look, okay, we're going evangelizing, and you've got to look, for open people. We're not trying to open people up. And lo and behold, it was chucking it down. I mean, it was but the great thing about that is nobody's running out in the rain. So it's actually really great for evangelism before you go, don't go out. Because everybody's like, I'm waiting for the rain. And we bumped into this guy, Jonathan, he might well be here, and he just said, oh, thank you so much for inviting me. Last 2 weeks, I've been thinking about God, and this is really just from God. And I looked at one, he looked at me and went, so that's it, buddy? And then Alistair's right here speaking to a guy about twice his age, and then last night, so we evangelized on Thursday, and Friday night came out to Bible talk. Sometimes we just think it won't ever happen. You've got to understand, God has opened up so many people's lives. Sometimes we feel we've forgotten some really basic principles about evangelism. I remember at University of New South Wales, we used to have 36, I reckon it was 36 visitors out on a Friday night. That hasn't changed. I'm going to give you a really important key. It's in the Bible, but how did Nathaniel hear about the gospel? Well, Philip asked him. How did Peter get to hear about the gospel? Andrew asked him. How did Elias get to hear about the gospel? Well, Elias was invited by a Muslim who Manny invited. Here's a really great tip for you. Ask your new friends to bring their friends. How many people can you bring to Bible talk this week? 2. Is that all? You're only bringing 2. Don't you have more friends than 2? It's a simple, that's bold. Yes, but it's biblical.
Come on.
That's the whole point. I think there are so many opportunities. My office in the city is the Gloria Jeans. That's where I study the Bible with people. And of course, I'm making friends with a lady that runs it as a franchise. I go, hey, you know what? Can I have a Bible discussion here? She said, yeah, sure. I close at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. I said, well, can we just take it over as Christians? Well, yeah, sure. It took me a year to build that relationship. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you've got to get the Bible discussion out of your house and into somebody else's. You've literally got to ask your friends. You live in a flat with 5 people, right? Great. Can I have a Bible discussion at your house next week? And can you invite them all? We've actually honestly, you've got to have a change of perspective.
Come on.
You've got to learn how to work smart, not hard. What about with your family? I was going through the prayer list this morning from January and praying through it and everything. So many of you put, I want my family to become Christians or my friends. Have you studied the Bible with them? Have you had that conversation? James brings his sister Lucy out. And Lucy's a really great girl. But I knew that, she comes from a Tongan religious background. I go, we've got to have that conversation. Say, hey, Lucy, we haven't seen you for a month. Why do you think that is? Well, I'm busy and I'm playing rugby on Sunday. I said, do you think you're a Christian? She goes, yeah. I said, you're not. How can you be? You don't come to church on Sunday. You're not out evangelizing. I said, unless you see yourself as lost, you'll never change. I don't mean to be mean, but the reason you're not changing is because you think you're saved. And I love you, and we were having, it wasn't a harsh conversation. I just go, but until you see yourself as lost, you won't actually get saved. Yeah. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I asked James yesterday, did she have the conversation? He goes, that's all she talked about. With your family, you literally have to go home and go, Mum and Dad, I love you, but do you think you're a Christian? Why? You don't even go to church. I love you, Mum and Dad, but you're not saved. You say it in a respectful way, but the reason they're not changing is you're not getting in there and actually having that conversation. Your family and friends can become Christians if you become bold. It's not that big of an issue. I remember my mum was always told this. She was committed to the Church of England, and a minister came to town and said, you think you're a Christian, and you're not. She said, I hated him, but I loved him. And that man changed my life. And that's when she really started getting serious about God. You don't have to say it in a harsh way. You just have to see what you think is a mountain, your parents becoming Christians, as a molehill. Jesus just walked around all day and just went, mate, you're not saved, you're a Jew, you're a bit religious, just come follow me. For him, it was no big, I'm just trying to look for people, and they'll either be open or they won't be open. Yeah. It's as simple as that. You know, I think about how do you turn a Bible discussion around? It's really easy. It's called accountability. So I'm training up all the young interns around the world sector, and I just implemented accountability. How many numbers did you get? How many visitors did you bring? All of a sudden, shock, horror. Everybody starts bringing visitors. Why? I held them accountable. But if I hold my Bible talk accountable and phone them every day and say, how many people you got for Friday? They won't like me. Well, they will if they're Christians. They won't if they're doing badly spiritually. But then it will show you that they need to be more spiritual. Then you can work on that, can't you? But it's really easy. You can grow any group if you put accountability in there. Doesn't matter what it is. Weight Watchers, going to the gym. It only works if there's accountability. All that home gym equipment you buy that you then throw out 6 months later, why do you throw it out? Because there's no accountability. I think some of you, becoming a Christian, some of you are here, and I'll just be honest, you just need to become a Christian. In Acts 22, when Paul was crucified, and Ananias went up to him and said, what are you waiting for? And I'll be honest, Alex, you should have been baptized this week, mate. Your job called you up, and you made a decision to go to work instead of getting baptized. Let me ask you, resign from your job. Resign. What's the worst that can happen? You can move in with the brothers. We'll pay you rent for a couple of months. It's as simple as that. Am I telling you anything you don't know? Some of you have been here. I appreciate Werner and Charlotte. These are a very impressive couple.
Yeah.
They're a young couple, fell in love, crossed the line. Really, Werner's more religious than Charlie. We said the first time we got them and said, hey guys, you know what God's against? He's against divorce. We need to build this relationship right. You've got to separate, you've got to build it, and then come back together. Sat down with Werner and said, buddy, you need to be a man. You need to lead Charlie. If this is ever going to work, you need to lead her. He went, wow. They had a conversation, they moved out. Werner's getting baptized today, he comes from a Christian background. Charlie will take a bit more time, she's a fantastic woman. We're against divorce, that's what we're against.
Yeah, come on.
Do you know what I mean? And if I challenge you, then you'll either... I remember when Obed, after 18 months, we studied the Bible with Obed for 18 months, and Sean went, Obed, you're getting baptized next week. I went, I went up to Obed, how'd you feel about that? He went, he's right. I need to do that. Darcy and Jess, you need to change, guys.
Come on.
Darcy, you need to move out, man up, and be what's right. Jess wants a spiritual man. You're getting less committed. You need to make a decision today. You'll either do that and become a Christian, or you won't. But some of us are visiting here, and it's just time. Some of us, it's time to just step on up. You know, it's not a big mountain. It's a molehill. God will catch you. You give up a job, God will catch you. You give up a person, God will catch you. Honestly, it's just about speaking the truth in love. You know, you've got to learn to achieve an enormous amount in a short period of time. It takes righteousness and boldness, and then trusting that God will catch you. You've got to learn to become effective as a Christian, not busy as a Christian. You've got to fill your life up with productivity, not activity to make yourself feel good. You know, invite busloads, invite your college, invite everybody at work, just stand up and just go, hey, I want all of you to come to church and become a Christian. What are they going to do? Say no? Well, welcome. They're already saying no in their hearts right now. All you're doing is just going, hey, let's find out what's in your heart. Let's find out what's in... And you know what? It's amazing how God has worked in people's hearts when you start to open them up. You see them change. You see them give. You see them come out of the blood. It's just amazing.
Come on.
You know, I think about you've got to let God work for you. I just did a little Bible study on the word impossible this morning. And this is what it says, Mark 10:27. Jesus looked at them and said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Maybe you'll read that before you phone whoever it is to ask for $3,000. Matthew 17:20, he replied, because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. For you. He's moved from me to you. Then in Acts 2 verse 24, because you know Jesus died, resurrected, he just reminds them. Says, but God raised him from the dead, freeing him from agony of death, because it was impossible for death to keep its hold on him. Not even death can stop you. Death is more frightening than Mike Tyson. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. He goes, you know what? Even if he kills you, maybe I'll resurrect you. Maybe I'll resurrect you. Maybe there'll be a New Testament resurrection just because I feel like it because I'm God. Well, that'd be pretty cool. Imagine being resurrected. I died once. What are you going to do to me? I mean, literally, some of us feel like if we get on the phone and ask people, if we ask our parents to study the Bible, we will die! No, you won't. It's as simple as that. You know, have you forgotten that we worship a God who makes not something out of nothing, but everything out of nothing? He makes the invisible visible and the visible invisible. To him who has faith and to him who doesn't have faith. He literally opens up the hearts of the eyes of the blind, and he opens up the hearts of the hard-hearted. God can raise, and he has raised the dead. So he can raise any area of your life that you think is dead. Any area. You've got a Christian group goer, he's dead. Well, he is today, but maybe tomorrow he won't be. That's called perseverance. No, the only thing that really needs to change is us. God doesn't need to change. It's us. You know, I want you to have a week that is bad. Bold and demanding. Wow. I want you to be a bad Christian. Whoa. No, Michael Jackson, I'm bad. And then somebody said, he's singing about being good. Really? I didn't get that. Okay, maybe I'm a bit silly. I want you to be a bad Christian. I want you to be bold and demanding. Come on. Wow. Of God and those around you. Have you forgotten the words that Jesus says in Matthew 7:7? It says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and anyone who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Yeah. What God are we worshipping this morning? You know, are you making mountains out of molehills? Is that why you eat and go well? Stop making mountains out of molehills and start making mountains into molehills. I'll leave you with a Joeism. Miracles are simply this: showing God that he exists, showing us that he exists. He loves us and cares for us as an individual. And if he created the universe, he can do the unbelievable. Challenges are simply this: the ingredients for God to work and assist. To turn your thinking right side up and upside down. A chance for you to look for the impossible so it can be found. Mountains are simply this: molehills disguised behind mist. Change your perspective to God's above. Trust in his power, his sovereignty, and his love. Amen.